Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. All right, we are back for Bayou time. And you remember the one-on-one I had with Commander George Ray. He's here on the set because I didn't give enough time or any time to, I'm not gonna let the cat out the bag yet. I'm gonna make you wait and watch because he found a famous ship. And you're gonna have to see all about this, but I want to also introduce Miss Sydney Poole, who is with us today. And there she is, and she's an anchor of the day. And Sydney, I'm gonna let you tell something. Where do you go to school?
St. Matthew's Episcopal School.
All right, and how old are you?
I'm 7 years old.
And I love your manners. You said yes, sir, and everything before. So you were taught right. So I got to give you an A+ on that. What's your favorite subject?
My favorite subject? Do you mean like in school?
Yeah, in school.
My favorite subject is like science and reading.
All right, very good. All right, so you have next to you someone who was in the Navy for many, many, many years. He did so many great things, and I interviewed him a while back, but he helped find a ship that was lost for a long, long time. Have you ever seen any movies where a ship was lost?
No, sir.
All right, so I'm gonna let Commander Ray take over. He's U.S. Navy retired, completing 33 years of active duty in the United States Navy submarine service, and during that period, he served on 5 submarines, 3 major staffs, and 2 tours in the Pentagon. He also started his own technology and consulting company. Good to see you again, Commander.
Great to be back.
I saw you at the recognition of 2 aviators the other night, and you're always finding the time to teach, and I appreciate that. But I want you to talk about the Titanic, because that ship's on everybody's mind. There you see it on the graphic. But tell us your involvement in that and educate us a little bit, because that is phenomenal.
Yeah, that goes back, next year will be 40 years when we did the expedition with Dr. Ballard and the crew from Woods Hole. And I was the Navy representative on board because he was developing technology for a unit out in San Diego, where I was the assistant officer in charge, called the Unmanned Vehicles Detachment. Mm-hmm. So we had all the underwater robots and ROVs, or remotely operated vehicles, and the autonomous underwater vehicles. So when the Office of Naval Research gave Dr. Ballard the funds to develop the latest technology, it was just only natural that my unit would be involved. So for me, it was just being at the right place at the right time. And Dr. Ballard was brought out to San Diego, where we were stationed, and he gave a discussion about the technology. And then he kind of at the very end said, oh, by the way, to demonstrate how good this new technology is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and use it to find the Titanic. So
wow, that's incredible.
So
Sydney, do you have a question at this point? I saw you raise your hand.
Yes, sir. How would they create robots that go underwater? Because usually robots move on batteries and like wires and stuff, and water and electric.
That's a great question.
Hurt the robot, because electric can go all through water and it might hurt the robot.
Wow.
I think we have a budding ocean engineer here.
Yes, indeed.
Right here. Those are great, great questions. And what we have to do is be very careful. And what we do is we make sure that the battery is packaged so no water can get into the battery. And then the battery puts the electricity to the computer. And it's the software in the computer that's the smart piece that drives the robot underwater. So that is very insightful at your age to know that much about robots. So that's a great question. Brilliant question.
I'm going to tell you, she could take my place one day shortly here on the news. Let me ask you, Commander, before we go to our first break. I was seeing some footage. I don't know, maybe it's footage y'all had taped or filmed prior, but I was seeing next to the ship, they still had shoes on the floor of the ocean. And it was such a, just a surreal experience to see that and to realize that somebody was once in those shoes and all. Were y'all seeing all this when you were doing it in your own words? What was that like?
Well, when we started we were on a 12-day mission. We had left the Azores where we had loaded all the equipment aboard. And then it took us a while to get up off Newfoundland is where the search would be. And we started searching with the equipment. And every day went by where we weren't getting any of the video we had hoped to see. And we were actually running out of time. And the first thing we actually saw that verified that we had finally found something of the Titanic was the boiler. It was upright like a Coke can. And we had all studied the pictures of the 29 boilers that were on Titanic. And so we really knew what we were looking for, among other things. And so what you are talking about is like the third and the fourth day. By then we knew we were in the right place. And that was at, on my watch, at a little after midnight, when I could see, I was operating the sonar equipment, and I could see where it was a man-made object. So we can talk about that some more.
Yeah, let's do this. We'll take a break. I'm with Commander George Ray, and I'm with Sydney Poole. She's the anchor of the day from St. Matthews. We'll take a break. She had a great question in the first round. We're going to get her to ask another one when we come back. Don't go away.
Since 1954, Terrebonne General has been a beacon of health and hope in our community. As we mark 7 decades of dedication to your well-being, Terrebonne General Health System remains committed to advancing healthcare, improving lives, and expanding our services to meet your evolving needs. In celebrating our past, we look forward to a future filled with promise and progress. Your health is our legacy. To discover more, visit tghealthsystem.com.
All right, we are back talking with Commander George Ray, and we're talking about the Titanic. He was on duty. He was on that job to find the Titanic. And Miss Sydney Poole is our anchor of the day. And what a great way to spend your anchor of the day, talking to someone who found such a famous ship. This is incredible. So you're part of history, Sydney. I don't know if you realize that or not. This is great stuff. So, Commander, let me ask you, we were talking about all of the paraphernalia that y'all were seeing. And I guess the word I was looking for in the first segment would be it's almost hallowed ground.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, when it was clear that we had finally found an object that was definable about being the Titanic, Dr. Ballard had been down there almost every night for those days, and he was running on vapors. Finally, he went up to get a little shut-eye, so the cook happened to come in, and he could hear all the commotion in the van, and then somebody said, go get Dr. Ballard. So when he came down, he agreed with all of us that that was the object that we could actually say we found at least the debris of the Titanic. And it was during that second hour he was in the van when, I'm not sure who said it, but they said, in just about an hour will be the exact time that Titanic sank.
Oh, wow.
And so at that point, jubilation went to a little bit more solemn reflection of what we had done. And basically, we recognized that we had found finally the resting place of so many souls.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Ballard had brought with him a flag from the White Star Line. And remembrance of that moment and at that time, we went out and he asked me to raise that flag on the stern of the vessel we were on at the exact moment of that time. So
Incredible.
those were things that led up to refocusing from joy to we had a job to do to see if we couldn't find if there was any real remains in terms of size and shape of a ship, or was this just a total debris field where everything just crumbled on its way to the ocean floor. And so we set about doing that. And so the next couple of hours, we got relieved. We were the mid-watch. And then we came back on around midnight again. And then the epic picture that ended up on the National Geographic, and there's a little fish you see swimming on the bow. They call them rat tails. And it was that moment when the same group of people on watch, when the equipment went over the iconic bow of the Titanic. So that was another moment of discovery that brought everybody, the word ship was sifted through the ship. And before you could say 1, 2, 3, the van was full of people again.
Does it give you satisfaction? Might be an understatement when we're talking about this, but when you're able to hold a flag up, and I'm sure there were some prayers that were said, knowing that this may be the first time upon that gravesite that any prayers were offered over that gravesite.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a moment of silence. And in fact, not knowing what each and every person's religion or feelings about religion were, it was just said, let's take a moment of silence and in your own way, think about these lost souls that now, like we do in all societies of higher ability, we mark our dead with graves and sites. And so now for the first time, we would be able to mark this site of these lost souls. So that was a tremendous feeling that we would be able to do that.
Yeah. All right, Sydney, you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Well, what I want you to
Actually,
do.
yes, sir.
Okay.
When he was talking at like the end before the break, how would shoes sink to the bottom? Because like shoes have like not a lot of weight.
That's another great question.
Yeah.
Even though water is so heavy and like you're comparing a heavy thing with something light, how come it can still bring it down?
Well, let's look at it this way. If I put you on a slide and you slide down your slide in your backyard and you have your purse with you, wouldn't your purse go with you as you slid down the slide? So that's kind of the same thing. We had this very big ship and it weighs hundreds of thousands of tons and it's going down and it's pulling everything near it with it. So it's pulling clothes off of people, shoes off of people, and all that stuff is going down into a debris field and it just settles on the ocean floor around the wreck site. So that's how we found all those items on the ocean floor.
So I guess it pulls the items down, light items down, and then once they're down, the weight of the water holds them down.
Well, what happens is a rush of water comes down on top of it and it blows everything out to the sides.
Sydney, great question. I want you to look at that camera now. You're going to take us to the break and you'll say, hey, everyone, we're going to be right back after a short commercial. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. We're gonna be right back after a few commercials.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality. All right, we're back. Our final segment with Commander George Ray. And of course, every time I talk to this gentleman, I'm learning so many different things. What a storied career. Great to have you on again, as always. And Miss Sydney Poole, who is the anchor for the day from St. Matthews. And she's been asking some great questions. And during the break, she spurred on a question. You told her that she probably needed to look into engineering. There's not a lot of women in engineering, you were telling me, but they had 4 on your expedition, correct?
Yeah, on the research vessel Noor, which is a Navy vessel, actually, even though it's civilian, funded by the Navy for the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. And it goes around the world. Of course, it's been retired and a new ship's in its place. But on our expedition, we had 4 women at the top of their game, and both ocean engineering and data analytics, naval intelligence, and geomatics. Okay. And these 4 women were just key parts to the success of the data we collected and how well it was preserved. And they provided the provenance for the data that everybody got to see months and months later.
It's just an incredible story because we've seen the documentaries, we've seen the movies, and I mean, whenever I pass a gravesite, or if I'm going to visit my dad's gravesite or my grandparent, it's so hallowed ground there. I can imagine at sea too, it's no different. You're over a gravesite, basically where a lot of people lost their lives tragically. So it's almost sort of soothing to know that you're there and in your own way, you're able to, I guess, I don't know if come in contact or connection with a lot of souls that just had a very terrible experience.
Well, it seems to be, Titanic seems to be the never-ending story. There have been hundreds and hundreds of movies made, literally thousands of books and tens of thousands of articles written about it. And right now there's a new chapter being written right here in the Bayou, and that is Edison Schwest. One of their ships was selected. And literally, as we sit here today, they are up on the Titanic site with the company who has the right to dive on it. And Woods Hole experts are on board with them. And one of the companies, Sea Innovation, which is a Schwest family company, have their 2 remotely operated vehicles on board diving with, again, the latest technologies and LiDAR and lasers. And they hope to be able to even better document what state that the wreck is in now and look at more things on the ocean floor. So those are the things about Titanic's never-ending story that I had a small part in.
I got to get you to keep coming on and give us updates. Would you agree to that? Give us a little update?
Sure, they're out there. They should be arriving on the site either yesterday or today, and they're out there for, I think, 18 or 20 days. Then they'll take the crew back to Providence, Rhode Island, and then they'll bring the ship all the way back to Galliano.
All right, Sydney, any questions before we wrap up here?
No, sir, but I would like to say something.
Absolutely.
When y'all were talking about that y'all would put me like in like the engineering math like kind of camp or whatever. My mommy told me when I was going to my little STEM camp, sometimes there will be a lot of boys, and Mama said not a lot of girls do science, and she said that makes me a really different and unique girl from the rest of the girls.
Well, I tell you, you're one smart young lady. And they're educating her right. That they see the opportunity. So would you like to be an engineer? Is that what you think?
Well, I want to be a dentist
Okay.
or an astronaut when I grow up, but I don't really know what I want to be.
Well, you're young enough to be able to figure it out, but you sound like you have a lot of ambition and you got time to figure it out. So we're looking forward to whatever you decide, right? All right. So how did you feel sitting next to such a famous guy?
Good.
Yeah. And he does a great job of educating. And let's make a deal. We're going to get you on some more and just bring us some updates as they come, because we've been waiting a lifetime for this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll have to talk about, the Titanic was just a naval intelligence cover story. And we were really out doing a top secret mission with this equipment. It's been declassified, so I can talk about that one thing. And maybe next time around, we can talk about what we were really out there doing before we left that area of the Azores and went up to, like we always say in naval intelligence, if you have a cover story, you live the cover story.
Well, this show just became a series. Thank you, Commander. We appreciate it. Sydney, thank you for coming on and being an anchor of the day. So I want you to look at this camera right here, and I want you to say, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.